status right now, and if you'd like, I can certainly look into that for you.
Okay, thank you. If we could just get an update on it, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Then, guessing the Secretary might have some thoughts as well. Any other questions? Senator Peters.
Sat in a few PAC meetings. People are coming, roads aren't built. What was your involvement in BRAC, and how are we going to get caught up once these individuals start coming, or they are coming now?
I haven't had any involvement. Can you speak a little bit more?
Well, the federal, they obviously made the decision to relocate, and a lot of people are not going to move, they're going to commute. And from the very beginning, 2 years ago, we said we need the roads, otherwise we're going to have major problems. So now we're having major problems. Was there any transportation package discussed with BRAC movement, or you're not aware of it? Could you maybe, would you mind finding out? Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rawl. Very helpful. Assistant Secretary Hughes Raymond.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Glad to be here today. Thank you, Chairman Hopper and the rest of the members of the General Assembly. Again, my name is Caitlin Hughes Raymond. I'm the Assistant Secretary for Policy and Freight at the Maryland Department of Transportation. Glad to be here today to give you the third part of doom and gloom from the federal side. I think both of the previous presenters have spelled out very accurately the big picture that we're facing, which really is very, very different from anything we've experienced in the past. This is not business as usual. We can't even call it the new normal, because every couple of months there's a new hiccup, a new element introduced into the uncertainty. So I'll give you an overview here of what we had in the past. We've had a lot of that, so I'll talk about that briefly, go into what we're seeing now, and then what we're expecting in the future to the extent that anyone can plan for an uncertain future. Again, I'm going to walk through how we used to see the stable federal funding picture with multiple year reauthorization bills on which you could plan for continual growth in the program. You could expect an authorization bill with more money than the prior one, and that would flow to states through programs. In the past, even as recently as when I started this job in 2007, we were still looking at what were our federal priorities in terms of earmarks for appropriations bills, for authorization bills. Earmarking is now, at least now, a thing of the past. So, and then there are and have been a variety of specific programs structured fairly singular modally. But what we've got now is this steady decline of revenue in the Highway Trust Fund, necessitating transfers from the general fund. We've also had the unhappy occasion of transportation becoming a partisan issue, where in the past it never had. You never had authorization bills become a debate between R's and D's. You really had a bipartisan. I mean, the phrase you always heard in a presentation was, there are no Democratic or Republican roads or transit systems or something else. But the point is, there certainly are now. You see a lot of political wrangling and people taking positions based on various elements of transportation, including whole packages like the FAA reauthorization bill, and now the surface transportation reauthorization bill. Again, we expect fewer federal funds. We're seeing it now, and then a shift from, there's a typo here in this page 2. I'll just have you noted, it shouldn't be a shift from annual formulas, really a shift from earmarking to discretionary funding. I apologize for the error. And what that means is, to the extent that we have an opportunity to seek any additional federal funding on top of what we've gotten just out of the regular order formula apportionment, it's been in the form of these discretionary categories, the allocated funds that go to USDOT, for which we have to compete. One big example of that is Tiger, and then to some extent there's been some transit programs that have offered an opportunity to get some funding here and there. The state is pursuing those whenever possible. Sometimes we're constrained a bit by the lack of available funds to provide the matching funds to compete aggressively or even to match the basic requirements of those programs because of our overall state health. And what we expect for the future, again, continued uncertainty. If we have a short-term bill or a small multi-year bill, of small in terms of number of years, if we get a longer bill, larger in terms of multiple years, it's almost certainly to come at static or reduced funding levels. So the opportunity exists for fewer programs, which could be desirable as long as it comes with increased eligibilities, giving us more flexibility. I think it would be quite problematic if we see reduced federal programs without the attendant eligibilities. We would have to pick up the slack then on the state side. And certainly more competition for any discretionary grant funding that may be available if there is any from the next authorization bill. Everyone's been talking about the need for performance measures to make sure that folks are doing what they should be with the monies and that they're going to good use. We expect to see performance measures in some form in the next authorization bill, as well as some additional representation of the concept that there should be an expansion of innovative and private sector financing. P3s being a big example, although again they have a specific place. They certainly are not a panacea and don't represent an opportunity to replace whole cloth either a state or federal transportation program. So let me go into some details here. As was mentioned, the previous authorization bill was known as Safety Blue, provided $244 billion for surface transportation. You can see the breakout in the presentation on highways, transit, and safety. And that was an increase over the prior authorization bill called T21. Significant increase, 31% highways, 48% transit, doubling of safety funds. We're not going to see those kind of increases anytime soon, despite the fact that a couple of national level study commissions chartered by Congress have demonstrated needs significantly in excess of even the current levels. So the current extension set to expire at the end of this month. The impacts for Maryland, which is really why I'm here today, is to tell you that under Safety Blue we received about $750 million a year in surface transportation funding. The split was $600 million for highways and $150 million in transit. These make up about 50% of the funds that we spend on highway and transit capital projects. Really, if you look in our consolidated transportation program for 2011, federal aid represents the single largest source of revenue for the state's transportation trust fund, about 19% of the total funding picture. The other two largest individual sources are, of course, our motor fuels tax and our vehicle titling tax. Those are each approximately 18% of the total in the 2011 CTP. So any major capital projects the state would choose to advance are really going to depend on the passage of new federal legislation. Right now, as most of you know, we're dealing with trying to handle our existing program of system preservation. Doesn't afford a lot of opportunity to do new stuff or expanded projects. So the federal highway program, I'll briefly give you an overview. That program that we receive apportion funds from requires a 20% match. It comes in the form of different stovepipes. We have them for interstate maintenance, national highway system, bridge replacement, and rehabilitation. There's a surface transportation program with some broader eligibilities. The congestion mitigation air quality program, also known as CMAQ, highway safety improvement program, and a makeup category called equity bonus, which gets us to the rate of return that was guaranteed in the legislation. So there's some transferability among the programs. They're all reimbursable, which means we need to spend the money first and then ask for the reimbursement